We did a version of Stairway that
Yeah.
had a choir
Yeah, it just
and an
kept-
orchestra,
Oh, yeah, that was
and
very
then
nice.
after the guitar, well, it was with the
In the shadowy world of rock and roll history, few figures loom as large as Jimmy Page. The legendary guitarist and mastermind behind Led Zeppelin wasn't just known for revolutionizing rock music by transforming blues into heavy metal magic. He was also famous for his perfectionist nature and the serious grudges he reportedly held against several of his musical peers. Page, the London-born architect behind classics like Whole Lotta Love and Black Dog, had standards as high as his amplifier stacks, and apparently quite a few famous guitarists fell short of those impossible standards. Page once allegedly told a music journalist that there are guitarists who play and guitarists who understand, claiming that most fall into the first category. For someone as devoted to musical perfection as Page, several big names in the guitar world apparently didn't measure up. These weren't just casual disagreements about technique or style. These were deep conflicts about musical integrity, guitar technique, and what rock and roll credibility really meant. Some of these feuds played out in public, while others remained whispered secrets behind closed recording studio doors, but all of them helped shape the competitive landscape of rock guitar during its most transformative era. If you're fascinated by the untold stories of rock history and the personalities behind the music, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss future episodes exploring the rivalries, collaborations, and controversies that defined rock and roll. The clash between Page and Ritchie Blackmore offers a fascinating look at two different approaches to hard rock. Blackmore, the theatrical guitarist from Deep Purple and Rainbow, who had a well-known obsession with medieval themes, reportedly earned Page's resentment despite their shared role in creating heavy music. The rivalry allegedly started in the early 70s, when both musicians were being celebrated as pioneers of the heavy sound. According to rock journalist Jeff Barton, Page supposedly told session musicians at Olympic Studios that Blackmore thinks every song needs a sword fight and confuses volume with passion. What bothered Page wasn't just how Blackmore played, but his entire approach to performance. While Page carefully crafted mystical atmospheres and dynamic song structures, Blackmore was finding success with what Page reportedly dismissed as Renaissance fair nonsense. In Page's view, Blackmore's theatrical performances prioritized spectacle over substance. Page allegedly told a German music magazine that there are guitarists who serve the song and guitarists who make the song serve them, and studio insiders believe this comment was aimed directly at Blackmore's showmanship. The two rarely encountered each other publicly, but witnesses claim that a London recording session, Page deliberately walked out when Blackmore arrived, supposedly muttering about not having time for costume parties. Interestingly, Blackmore seemed unaware of Page's disdain and later praised Led Zeppelin's technical abilities in interviews. For Page, Blackmore represented everything he opposed in serious rock music: theater over authenticity, flash over feeling, and performance over pure musical expression. The rivalry with Eddie Van Halen shook the guitar world during the late 70s. Van Halen, the Dutch-American virtuoso who revolutionized rock guitar with his finger-tapping technique, reportedly became one of Page's most bitter professional enemies. The feud allegedly ignited after Van Halen's explosive debut album sent shockwaves through the rock world. According to Guitar World editor Brad Talinsky, Page reportedly told colleagues at a London pub that anyone can learn parlor tricks, but real guitar playing comes from the heart, not from showing off like a circus performer. This dismissive comment allegedly reached Eddie's ears within weeks. What infuriated Page wasn't just Eddie's innovative tapping technique, but what it represented for the future of guitar music. While Page had built his reputation on bluesy soul and mystical atmosphere, Van Halen was achieving massive success with what Page reportedly called athletic guitar playing. In Page's traditionalist view, this technical wizardry sacrificed emotion for flash. Page allegedly told a backstage interviewer that there's a difference between playing guitar and playing with a guitar, and industry veterans knew exactly who he meant. The tension reportedly escalated at a Los Angeles recording studio, where witnesses claimed Page abruptly ended a conversation when someone mentioned Eddie's groundbreaking Eruption solo, allegedly dismissing it as bedroom noodling. Eddie, for his part, always spoke respectfully of Page's influence and called him a master in multiple interviews, but Page had apparently written off the future of guitar as nothing more than technical masturbation. Perhaps the most explosive personality clash involved Yngwie Malmsteen, the Swedish neoclassical metal virtuoso with an ego as massive as his guitar solos. Malmsteen reportedly drove Page to absolute fury with his Baroque-influenced shredding and outrageous public statements. The animosity allegedly began in the mid-'80s when Malmsteen burst onto the scene claiming to be the greatest guitarist who ever lived. According to Metal Hammer journalist Malcolm Dome, Page reportedly told friends at a charity event that this Swedish peacock thinks Bach wrote power chords and has confused technique with music itself. This scandalous assessment allegedly circulated through European music circles rapidly. What pushed Page over the edge wasn't just Malmsteen's technical prowess, but his complete dismissal of blues-based rock tradition. While Page had spent years perfecting the art of dynamic songwriting, Malmsteen was achieving cult status with what Page reportedly called classical music rape. In Page's view, these elaborate compositions turned guitar into a masturbatory academic exercise. Page allegedly told a Swedish journalist that some people think more notes equals more music, and they're usually the same people who think louder equals better. The situation reportedly exploded in a guitar expo, where industry insiders claim Page walked out during Malmsteen's performance, allegedly telling security he didn't need to watch someone practice scales for 20 minutes. Malmsteen, true to form, later dismissed Page's entire catalog as primitive blues noodling. The feud with Keith Richards split British rock royalty down the middle. Richards, the immortal Rolling Stones guitarist, and Page reportedly maintained a bitter rivalry that stretched across decades, fueled by professional jealousy, personal slights, and fundamentally different philosophies about rock and roll's soul. The bad blood allegedly started in the late 60s when both bands were climbing the charts simultaneously. According to Rolling Stone journalist Robert Greenfield, Page reportedly told studio engineers that Keith thinks 5 chords make him Chuck Berry and wouldn't recognize a melody if it bit him. This feud reportedly turned bitter when their competing claims to blues authenticity. While Page crafted elaborate arrangements and mystical atmospheres, Richards was achieving legendary status with what Page reportedly called 3-chord primitivism. In Page's perfectionist view, Richards mistook simplicity for profundity. Page allegedly told NME that anyone can bash out satisfaction, but real musicianship requires more than stumbling through the same riff for 50 years, though this quote was never officially published. The animosity reportedly reached peak levels during a backstage encounter at Madison Square Garden, where witnesses claim Richards deliberately ignored Page's extended hand, allegedly muttering about not shaking hands with thieves, a reference to Led Zeppelin's alleged appropriation of blues standards. Richards, never one to back down, later dismissed Page's entire approach as overproduced wankery. These two titans had apparently turned rock guitar into a war between raw authenticity and elaborate artistry. Perhaps most shocking was the alleged rivalry with Jimi Hendrix. Despite Hendrix's tragic death cutting short what could have been rock's greatest rivalry, the tension reportedly began when Hendrix exploded on the London scene, immediately overshadowing Page's session work and early Yardbirds' success. According to rock historian Charles Shaw Murray, Page allegedly told close friends that this American comes over and suddenly everyone forgets who was playing guitar before he arrived, dismissing Hendrix as all flash and feedback with no real musicianship. This bitter comment allegedly revealed Page's growing insecurity about his own place in rock history. What truly aided Page was Hendrix's instant acclaim and innovative approach. While Page had been methodically building his reputation through technical precision and blues mastery, Hendrix achieved legendary status with what Page reportedly called controlled chaos. In Page's view, this style prioritized showmanship over musical substance. Page allegedly told the journalist that some people think breaking guitars makes you a genius, but real musicians don't need pyrotechnics. The rivalry reportedly turned personal when both guitarists were linked to the same London music scene. Industry insiders claim Page became increasingly paranoid that Hendrix was deliberately upstaging him. Even after Hendrix's death, Page allegedly couldn't let go of the jealousy, reportedly dismissing Hendrix's legacy as overrated theater and private conversations. Finally, taking the top spot was Eric Clapton, the man once called God by his fans. Clapton allegedly became Page's most hated rival through professional competition, personal betrayals, and what Page reportedly saw as shameless credit stealing. The feud's roots allegedly trace back to the mid-60s London blues scene, where both guitarists competed for the same session work and band opportunities. According to music journalist Chris Welch, Page reportedly told studio musicians that Eric plays the same 3 blues licks and everyone calls him a god, suggesting that mediocrity sells better than innovation. The breaking point reportedly came when Clapton recruited drummer Jim Gordon, who had been collaborating with Page on session work. Sources claim Page felt personally betrayed, allegedly saying that Eric builds his career on other people's talent because he doesn't have enough of his own. The animosity reached its peak during the 70s, when both men achieved superstar status. Industry veterans claim Page became obsessed with proving his superiority over Clapton, allegedly saying at a private party that the difference between them is that he creates music while Clapton just copies it louder. The final blow reportedly came when Clapton publicly praised blues legends while subtly dismissing Led Zeppelin's heavier approach. Page allegedly responded by calling Clapton a blues museum curator who had never written an original idea in his life. This wasn't just musical rivalry, but personal warfare disguised as artistic difference. These alleged feuds reveal a side of Jimmy Page that fans rarely see, a perfectionist so devoted to his vision of guitar excellence that he couldn't help but clash with some of the biggest names in rock history. Whether these rivalries were real or exaggerated by the rumor mill of the music industry, they certainly add another layer to the legend of one of rock's most influential guitarists.